Hello and welcome to the MADEcast, the official podcast of the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, a series of lectures on video game history as part of the MADE's ongoing effort to preserve history through teaching and displaying playable exhibits of rare games and consoles.
While life in the time of COVID has forced us to close our doors, the support of people like you has allowed us to continue to bring history to you through lectures like the one you'll hear in a few minutes. I'm Miles.
I'm Chun.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Red. This week, Alex will be chatting with his wife, Veronica, about the LucasArts adventure game, Maniac Mansion, developed by Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick, released in 1987, as well as their ongoing love of adventure games. But before we get into that, it is a big day. It is the day after the Game Awards have been announced, and the winners and the tallies are in. Everybody, it's some big news, but as you can, the big winner of the night was definitely Last of Us 2. The Last of Us Part 2 won, I think, a total of 4 big awards out of like the big names.
Let me see. It was Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Audio Design, Best Performance for Laura Bailey, Innovation and Accessibility.
Yeah.
Best Action Adventure. It really swept. Yeah.
Which honestly, this is getting into like personal feelings about this game news, but we'll save that for later. We will talk more about this. We'll leave the discussion part for after. This is news time because we need to talk about my personal happy winner for best indie game, which is Hades from Supergiant. And oh man, does it deserve it. It is absolutely a fantastic playable experience. The replay value for a game that is as like limited in the way they is limited as playable because you just play through the levels and go back and start over again and keep doing it with different abilities. They keep you coming back with the story and everything else. They do an amazing job with that, and hats off to them for making such a developed storyline and world and making it interact. Do you guys have any big like choice moment winners of the night for you?
Well, for me, I'm glad Final Fantasy VII Remake got the award on the best music because they really did a good job, not just writing about good music of the game. I mean, when you talk about what music is a good music for a game, it's not about just whether the songs or the music are good or not. It's about how they merge into the game experience itself, how they interact with each other. I mean, Final Fantasy VII has really done a really great job on like there's one boss fight in the game. They have literally more than 10 variations of the music, and it's amazing on both technical side and musical side. And to be honest,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I personally think they have done an even better job on the sound design system too, because I have talked before talking about how they manage on the trigger of some other sound effect. They just always call the audio side of Square Enix, they call it magic. That's how good they're doing it. And yeah, I can totally understand and agree with that. I mean,
I also agree. Like they did such a good job with the music and just the whole orchestration of it all. They really it moves you emotionally throughout the game, and they do an incredible job. And the way it blends in, like you said earlier, like from a heightened situation to back to the main like walk around music of the area that you're in. It's an incredible job. They did a great job. And also like for best audio design, Doom Eternal was nominated for that. I think it was also interesting that they deliberately, one of the things that was interesting about that personally is that they deliberately didn't want to use any guitars. So it was like they used power tools and like chainsaws and other things to really make like actually develop it into the soundtrack and
I remember hearing about
be involved with that.
I can totally understand that feeling. Sometimes you just want to get rid of something that you used to use a lot and try something new.
Another thing that I do have to say, I do appreciate it. The best ongoing game, No Man's Sky, won that. And I do have to say they have, for the amount that they've put into the game to expand it and make it what it is now versus upon release, it's a whole new experience. It's really fantastic. It's a nice and chill just exploration game where you can go and do a bunch of things, and
Yeah.
check out other people's planets. They've done such an amazing job developing the world, adding new variety and just everything to the game. They've really stepped it up and kept on. They've not stopped caring for the game and wanting to make it even more into like the ultimate vision, which is really something to be said. And I hope more, like, as we will get in after we start talking with, after the news segment, we will dive into a little bit more news because it's so much news today. There's some other things that we can talk about as far as the new releases like Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, where comparisons on how well they're working on release and how much they put into it going further. But as far as that, there's just the Game Awards, man. There's so much more news.
It all happened at once.
It all happened at once. I think there's one. I think we can also start talking a little bit new about it. I think we can bring it up right now. Cyberpunk 2077 has also been released.
Ooh, baby, has it been released?
Oh man, if you haven't heard, as of the time we are recording this, the day after the Game Awards, this is such a fun thing to see. All the glitches that have been apparently purported upon release, and all the interesting little bugs.
Being someone who already being spoiled the whole game, there's one thing I can say. This is very cyberpunk. That's all I can say without any spoiler.
Yes, it is very cyberpunk. Glitches included.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, to a point that you don't know whether it's intended glitches or it's just cyberpunk.
Very true. That's a very good point. It's just immersion, guys. It's all that is. It's the immersion level is just beyond what you even comprehended. You are a cyberpunk.
That's what you're gonna see in a cyberpunk world. Your body gotta glitch, and there will be bugs in your life.
Right.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, all these robot characters, you're gonna have a glitch in some instance. I do have to say I've seen a lot of really, really cool advancements in character design, and I'm not talking about the one that you're thinking about, not on this show, but the one that I'm talking about is just like the facial detail. You can actually, like, as a bigger guy, you can actually be a fat man. You can actually make yourself look like me. You can be there's just so much.
Look gorgeous. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Thank you. I mean, but you can look fantastic, but just the development in how well everything looks, like the level of changeability. You don't just have like base character models. You can really make them look however you want to look, and but we'll see how they interact with the world the farther you take the character model randomizer,
right?
Which I'm sure could be a fun little video.
I would like to see like a Monster Factory episode on it, where it's like,
yes,
you know, that whole thing of just like trying to make the most disgusting creature possible out of, you know, the sliders in a video game.
I'm certain they'll do that.
Am I the only one who not trying to make something disgusting instead of just making something looks like good?
No, because like I will do a fun file, and then I will also do I do fun files, and then I do my main character, like how I want him to look and how I want to do it. That there's like my main morality driven, this is me and the choices that I would make, and then there's let's see what can happen.
Yeah, first playthrough you do it serious, or at least I do, and
Yes.
Play it like a real person and have an actual human being as the character. And then, you know, the monster is third or fourth playthrough and sort of see how you can mess up the game.
Yes. I do have to say, I think it is about time that we save some more Game Awards news and the other news announcements until after we hear about what it was like growing up with the NES and playing Maniac Mansion, and Alex and his wife Veronica talking about their great continued love of adventure games. And here it goes.
Well, hello, and welcome. This will be our final episode of the year. Happy holidays to everybody out there listening to this over the Christmas time period. And thanks to our interns for mixing this podcast over their Christmas break from school at SF State University. Today, because we're all locked down, I figured I'd use my lockdown partner, my beloved and wonderful, beautiful, and intelligent wife, Veronica. who is a teen librarian in the Oakland system. I wanted to have her on today to talk about adventure games. Welcome, beautiful.
Hi, thanks for having me, Alex.
And yeah, thanks for coming into my office down the hall here and coming on the extremely fancy and formal podcast. We've been doing adventure games on this podcast, and I mentioned in the last podcast how the Sierra games tended to be games where you would sort of walk around and click on things until you didn't die and just kept going forward and, you know, find out what didn't kill you. But the LucasArts games were sort of more varied and interesting and had many more options. And I know you grew up playing Maniac Mansion. I was wondering what drew you to that game. Why did you like that game?
Well, I've always liked adventure games. It's probably because it's a story. It's a story unfolding in front of my face. I'm a big reader, as you just said. I'm a librarian. I've always liked books. I've always liked stories. And that's really, to me, what those video games are. They're books in video game format. It's kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure book, but in a video game format for me. And I remember I was really into choose-your-own-adventure books at that time when Maniac Mansion came out.
And you played it on the Nintendo, right?
Yes.
And I mean, that was a sort of the strange place to play it because you had to move with the little controller and move a little cursor on the screen, like almost like it was a PC game or something.
Yeah, well, I really hadn't had very much experience with PC games. I mean, at that point, I think I'd played Wheel of Fortune on PC. So really, we weren't really a big computer household. I had a Nintendo. Quentin, my brother, had a Genesis, a Sega. And I mean, any game kind of you picked up, you felt like you were learning the controls. So I guess it felt awkward at first, but you know, once I learned what I was doing, it felt pretty normal.
I know that you did beat the game. You said you could beat it. What, Bernard is your trick to beating it?
Bernard was always my trick to beating it. That was one of the things, like, I got stuck that I would actually love to sit down and go through with maybe some walkthroughs today with some other characters. Like, there were some things I could figure out. Like, there's one character, Michael, who was a photographer, and you found film and you found stamps, but I couldn't get the stamps to work on the envelope. Like, I found all the items, but for some reason I couldn't get them to work to mail that off. So I could never get his ending, but I could always figure it out, you know, go figure. You needed the nerd to beat the game.
But what is it the nerd does that he can work with, like the nuclear reactor in the basement or something?
He can work with the nuclear reactor, and he could fix all the electrical items.
Okay.
So he could fix the old time radio. He fixes a lot of things.
I mean, there's the interactions that we're even discussing here are so different from a normal video game that most people would think of in their heads, right? Like lining up 3 things or shooting bad guys, like
yeah.
Talking about like repairing things in a house in order to meet your goals.
Yeah. But it was really funny. I think there was a lot of things that was attractive to kids. I mean, I played it with my brother, who was 5 years younger than me, and his friends. They used to like to watch me play it because it was like a cartoon, and there was so many things that just would appeal to a kid's humor. Like, you could take the hamster, and you kept on trying to put the hamster in the microwave, of course, because, you know, we're sick little kids, and you can't. There's no way. Then each person has a different thing to say, and of course you find it hilarious. At one point you find like a rotting turkey, and you try to make your characters eat the rotting turkey, and of course they won't. And, you know, it's not that funny now, but for some reason that's hilarious when you're a little kid.
And that was sort of a feature of Colossal Cave Adventure and Zork. It was sort of snarky when you tried to do something it didn't want you to do, because there were so many things you couldn't do.
Yeah. And you could also kill characters in the game.
Yes, that's right. And
when I found out that you could actually drown yours. So there's at one point you have to drain a pool, and you get one of the characters to go in the pool. If I accidentally filled the pool up with the character in there, I didn't realize, I could kill this character. And then then suddenly the character had a tombstone, and the leader goes out and he reads the tombstone, and he's just like, and good riddance. And so I was like, well, what happens if I kill the second person? So then I killed the second person, and he goes out and he reads their tombstone, and he says, and another one bites the dust.
And that's a unique thing about this game. I don't know if our listeners know that you chose 3 characters at the beginning of the game as opposed to playing a single character all the way through.
Yes, you had 3 characters. You always had to have the boyfriend. I can't even remember his name. Probably Michael or something generic like that. And it was, just different characters.
They each had different musical themes, too.
They each had different musical themes, and probably something not thought of then, but they did it, but we're very aware of now as they had different races, which was actually
absolutely
very forward thinking.
A racially diverse cast, and the characters are all sort of modern 80s-ish takes on the 50s stereotypes. Like you got the punk girl, you got the nerd boy, you got the football star.
Yes, definitely the football star. He's the main character. Yeah, there's like the photographer, Razor. She's the rock girl.
She has the best music.
Yeah, she did. There was Bernard. There was a surfer guy.
Oh yeah, the surfer guy. Yeah.
Gosh, he was so useless. But I feel like he probably had some. I don't know. He also was a musician though, so he probably had a storyline with a Tentacle that could have happened.
Yeah, Tentacle liked music, right?
Yeah, Tentacle was trying to start a band.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and there was another female character. I can't remember what she did now.
Oh yeah, there was another lady. I don't remember her. So we can look all this up. I mean, there's a lot of information on the history of Maniac Mansion. I'm just trying to capture what it was like to actually play it in the day. You said the kids in the neighborhood would come over, we all pile together and watch.
Well, yeah, it was just my brother and his two, like the next door neighbor and then the neighbor behind us. And we kind of just lived in the country and all had a shared. I mean, we each had our own backyard, but there were no fences, so we all just kind of roamed.
So what? I mean,
free range children.
Were you the only ones with a Nintendo, or did you share cartridges? Or?
No. We all had a Nintendo. Lucky kids. But that was kind of fun in a way because we all shared games. Yeah, and there wasn't really a rivalry. At least not with me, since I was older. It was more like they brought me games that they couldn't finish. Not that I was that great, but I was better than them.
Well, you were old enough to figure them out, right? Like,
yeah. But some of them was just like, no, we can't. This is awful. No, we can't. But the Game Genie was a game changer.
Which game did you say you beat with a Game Genie? Oh, Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
Yes. And there were a few others you mentioned that you had beaten with a Game Genie. I can't remember. But that was
Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. All the unbeatable ones.
Yeah.
So you continue to play adventure games, and we actually have been playing Life is Strange, which definitely big thumbs up, right?
Yes, definitely.
Big thumbs up. But you played Sanitarium and Longest Journey, the what I was speaking about is sort of the end period for adventure games, where they kind of died off for a little while after that. And was it the story that appealed to you in both of those games?
I think it's the story, and it's also the puzzles. Not that I disliked shoot 'em up games, but the really, at least at that age, the only quote-unquote shooter I got interested in was the Resident Evil series, which again, I mean, maybe it's not like a choose-your-own-adventure, there's not different endings, but you're still choosing things, and there's a lot of puzzles.
There are like 2 or 3 different endings for some of them.
Yeah, there are.
Based on time, it's not
really choice. Yeah, Resident Evil 3 there is.
The adventure games, the choosing of what happens in Sanitarium was sort of different than the choosing of what happens in like a Life is Strange or one of these sort of modern real story.
Yeah, it's more puzzle focused. You have to figure out the puzzles to get out of the room, and I don't know. I guess I enjoy that aspect of the game as well.
Those puzzles get to be really difficult sometimes, though. I remember the Day of the Tentacle, like getting stuck on a puzzle and just giving up, basically.
Yeah, I got stuck on that one too, but I feel like I played it later on in life. If I played it as a kid, like anytime I got stuck on something, I would just leave and usually come back and see it with fresh eyes, like any problem. And sometimes it's like you have to be really patient with those games. You have to search every nook and cranny, and suddenly you find some drawer you didn't find or something before, and that's the key to the puzzle.
I think that's been an interesting thing in Life is Strange, is that they allow you to sort of search and look at all the little story bits if you want, but it's not like you have to find that one little hidden thing.
Yeah, Life is Strange definitely does that. I think one thing I like about Life is Strange too is if you read everything, there's side stories that you don't even have anything to do with. Like at one point, somebody's talking about a laptop that was stolen from them that has pictures of their dead beloved cat that they really want. And when you go into town, you find somebody who's selling a laptop, but you have to buy it. You have to take it with the pictures of this cat because they can't get rid of the pictures of the cat. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I could get this laptop back, but you can't. It's just something the writers threw in there that I thought was kind of a genius little side story, just a little bit for those of us that are searching every nook and cranny.
Yeah, it really enables you to do that searching, that every nook and cranny thing. I know that's one of the things you enjoy about Fallout, which is that your favorite Fallout 3?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Fallout and the Dragon Age. I love that you can, at least for a while, forget there's a main story. Like, I get so, like it was like the first time I played Fallout 3, I really like to just kind of ignore the main story. I kind of found Megaton, and then I was like, okay, these guys are kind of jerks. I didn't blow it up. I just kind of ran around grinding around Megaton for a while. And then when I got tough enough, I just kind of explored, and I just ended up finding Rivet City on my own. Didn't do any of the things to find Rivet City. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be finding my dad. These people are telling me about my dad. You can just get lost in this whole other world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really what the Maniac Mansion actually is, sort of a mansion, a little world, right? Like, it's a place to go, almost.
Yes. Yeah, the each room is its own. Yeah, there's their own little puzzles. I mean, you have to run away from the mother. You have, and then there's the son. Can you befriend the son? You get to, play pranks. It's just a really, really amazing game. It really is playing a cartoon.
It is, and it's way ahead of its time. I mean, some of the elements we're talking about here, like that it being a place or something, I mean, that's not really something I would say necessarily of all of the adventure games in that era. Some of the King's Quest and Police Quests and so forth. The Lucasfilm games really have that sense of humor and that sense of, like, when you're on Monkey Island, you're on Monkey Island, or when you're in that mansion, you're in that Maniac Mansion. It's a fully fleshed out sort of a vision that was enabled in such a primitive systems. It's so far different. It's so far afield from all the other NES games. There's a few like Shadowgate and so forth that are similarly exploration based, I guess, and puzzle based. But I'm wondering what sort of games you wish were based on Maniac Mansion. I mean, would you play something after, like something today with those kinds of mechanics, or is Life is Strange sort of hitting all the buttons for you?
I don't think I'd want to go back to the mechanics of Maniac Mansion. I mean, I think I like more the mechanics of Life is Strange or Fallout or something like that. I think, I mean, ideally, I mean, if we're saying anything I wanted, then it would just be like a totally immersed world that I could just go into. There are different quests, and that there's always new AI, there's always new quests, there's always new lands being updated, that it's just a forever going on game. Kind of like, what's that I guess in a weird way, like Second Life, but making it an adventure game, but not quite like your Avatar. I mean, whatever. So,
and not just running around shooting things, but like just exploring.
Yeah, explore. I mean, shooting things can be part of it, like Fallout, or there's good things and there's bad things, and there's good guys and there's bad guys, or maybe you're the bad guy shooting the good guys. I mean, it's your choice, right?
I know you like being the bad guy a lot, like when you sold the children into slavery in Fallout 3.
Sometimes. I just got fed up, and I was actually playing the game really, really good, and I couldn't get past them, so I thought maybe I had to do that, and then my character went from the ultimate good to the ultimate evil with that move.
It was an impressive moment. But I mean, the reason I ask this is because the thing that I've been pointing out about these adventure games is that they can be very obtuse. And like we said with the Day of the Tentacle, it's like it sometimes can be not what makes sense. It can be, what does the developer think I should do right now? Mm-hmm. What arbitrary thing do I have to pick up and do right now?
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, sometimes it's like going back to Fallout, it's like, I almost want to see if I can break the game. And think of, like, one of the things I did with Vegas was, in my way, I kind of say I broke the game, is I couldn't give myself an ending because I started killing everyone. And there was nobody that wanted to side with me, and the game just didn't know what to do with that. The game was like, I could forever go into the game as that character and kill people forever, but it was it was just an interesting, I was like, oh, I wonder what the developers are going to do for someone like me who decides to kill everyone. And it's like the developers had they didn't think someone like me was going to play the game, and they didn't even have an ending for that. Like, it was like, what?
They figured that you would, make friends with at least one of the factions, not kill all the factions.
Yeah, no, I killed them all.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see what would happen, and yeah, they didn't anticipate that, so I don't know. And then for some reason, that's a little feather in my cap. I don't know why.
But that's exploring the play space, and just like killing the kids in Maniac Mansion, they actually thought about that, right? Like the developers, Ron Gilbert and those guys actually thought, hey, not only will we allow that to happen, but we'll have them say something, which back then was actually kind of putting it was papering a wall, or putting up that piece of the set for people to go see. Even just having a bit of text was enough to show that you paid attention to that and thought about that in those days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what made me kill the second kid, because I wanted to see what he would say.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
The Maniac Mansion series isn't necessarily as obtuse as sort of the Sierra games, but do you remember any of the puzzles, maybe solving them when you were first playing through and being like, geez, that's weird?
In the Maniac Mansion?
Or in any of the adventure games, really. I'm just trying to cite some more examples for the listeners. It's all right.
The Maniac Mansion, the really involved one was like trying to find the phone number to call the mother. You had to break open an arcade game to get the quarter, to put the quarter into the telescope. But before you did that, you had to make sure you snuck into her room and pushed over the body in the shower and then look through the telescope, because then you could read the phone number and call the phone number to call her and distract her so you can go and do something else.
Yeah, okay, there you go. See, it's very arbitrary, sort of. Making, it's like setting these variables, like you go upstairs, move the body. Okay, is the body moved or not? Now you can see the thing. But you have the quarter. I never found the quarter. I remember looking for the quarter as a kid, and I never found it. I wanted to play the arcade game. I'm sure that's Bernard, right?
No, you could break it. You had to get, I think you just had to have some item you could smash. At some point you could find a hammer or something, and you can use that.
You just
like any character can smash the bottom and take the quarter.
Oh, that would be awful.
Or you can, you could also get the quarter. That's right, because the hammer comes by the piggy bank. You could also steal the coins from their son.
Oh yeah, the military style. Yeah, okay. God, do you remember all of this? I know you could go racing right through it. Just easy as pie again today, do you think? Maybe.
I don't know. I'd probably have to think about some things. I'd probably want to sit down and see if I could do it without Bernard, since I've never seen any of those endings. But I mean, it's pretty much the same ending. It's just different things can happen during the story. Like,
sure.
In the end, it's either the meltdown happens or it doesn't. No matter who the characters are. But it's what they're doing inside of the game, the side stories that can be different.
And so the side stories actually affect the whole in the end. I mean, they all sort of pay off because in the end you've created a story from beginning to end, and those pieces are a part of it, and it's your special story. Yeah. At the end, you're going to have somebody be on your side. I mean, whether it's their son you befriended, or the tentacle you befriended, or somebody. Excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time. Beautiful. I am going to end it right here, and happy holidays to everybody, and thanks for listening. And take care. We'll see you in the new year. We're going to continue on this Lucasfilm thing. I'm going to get some Lucasfilm people on here. So there was a method to our madness today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you, Alex and Veronica, for that lovely conversation about Maniac Mansion and all the weird little quirks it has.
That is the one I haven't gotten back to. I've played Day of the Tentacle, which is the sequel to Maniac Mansion, but I have not gotten to Maniac Mansion yet.
Maniac Mansion, the one thing that I remember, at least when I've seen people play it, and I have not played it myself, but when I've seen people play it, the Pepsi product placement always gets me. It's early product placement in games, and they got it right and tastefully. I mean, it encompasses the 80s character tropes pretty well.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Yes. Anyway.
Back to the Game Awards. Still going on about that.
Yes. There's still so much to talk about Game Awards wise.
We can talk about it for a whole night and not stopping.
Yeah.
What are some of the big things that you guys were wanted to bring up in specific about these Game Awards?
Deep in my heart, the game of the year, just for this specific year, it's Animal Crossing. Just because it get in the right time, right places, right circumstances. It is just this game for this specific year.
Very true. I think timing for a game like that and the popularity of it. And also, one of the things that was like interesting, the amount of Nintendo Switches that were purchased at the beginning of the pandemic went up for people in lockdown. So they bought a Switch. And so Animal Crossing releasing on Switch was pretty perfect. They did an amazing job.
Absolutely. I mean, it won Best Family Game at the Game Awards. And I think that's sort of like Animal Crossing is one of those games where your grandma could play it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I'm not saying like, oh, it's a boring game for boring people. I'm saying that like it's extremely accessible. Like everybody is just willing to have that experience. Like it's not stressful at all. It's not like
you don't have to
Don't say it's not stressful. You can play it in a non-stressful way.
Yeah.
When you're trying to trade and get on like high prices on the market, man.
Like,
if you're not
it can be as stressful as you want.
I've seen someone who just keep trying to adjust the time so that it can run over the time zone in order to get all the season thing in just 1 month. And what's the point of playing this game? I mean,
right.
But after all, this game is a very good game that you don't have to save the world, which is quite a good turn back when we just keep saving the world in the other games. It's a good place to take a rest. I mean,
it is on your nice little private island where we all wish we could be,
and to meet each other.
Yes, at least virtually.
Yeah,
it's basically your own little furmeebo. Creating your little fursona for all you furries out there. Of course,
it's we are chat, but not we are.
Yes.
If we're done talking about Animal Crossing,
yes.
I think what's interesting about some of the winners from the Game Awards is that we have sort of remakes winning a lot of the awards. So, for example, we have Final Fantasy VII winning Best RPG. That's a remake. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 won Best Sports Racing Game.
Oh, yeah.
That category.
Yeah.
Which is also really interesting.
That is a very interesting thing. I really hope video games, the remasters are fun to play. It's a totally different experience than basically remaking a movie, which is kind of cool. But I hope they don't fall into that and just keep remastering older games.
It depends. I mean, if it's a remake, it's good. Look at Final Fantasy VII. If it's remaster, then it depends how much changes they have done to the game.
Very true. There is a difference between a remake and a remaster.
Yeah.
But still, they're games that have, I think, already won. I don't know how many awards they won on release or the acclaim that they got, or if the Game Awards existed on initial
I'm
release.
not really sure Game Awards, like not the sort of the industry of Game Awards, the institution. I'm not sure games were given awards back then. Like in the 90s and early 2000s, really. I'm sure they were, but I just don't recall.
Yeah, not to the level of an event that's broadcasted upon multiple services that it is now. What do you think about that, Anthony? Like, how do you feel about the remaster winning like a best game of the year?
I hope it doesn't, become a trend. Like, we have to remake all these great games so that just as a safe bet for a great game. I hope there's still, more innovations and more creative ideas coming out. But I hope it doesn't become more of like a staple, like, okay, every year there has to be some sort of remake coming out.
Agreed. And I think now it is a sequel, Last of Us 2, but I do also am worried about that type of game kind of dominating the winning, because yes, it's a great game and there's functionality of it, but it's so much of just the story, if you know what I'm saying. Like there's little parts of the game, like there's instant reactions, like you're playing the guitar or to enhance an emotional moment or something like that.
It's good. It's cool, but is this the best out of all the stuff we have this year? That is
just like how much of it is a game, like what puzzles, like just new fun things to try. It's a great like story and narrative experience, but game. But game.
We gotta stay there. We will laugh it too.
Yeah. Won't get too much more of that. Just a personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think one more little piece of big news that we do have is 3 words actually. Sephiroth, Super Smash Bros.
That's more than 3 words.
I know. I was hoping nobody would. I was hoping it would.
I had my fingers up. I was counting.
I know. Sorry, Sephiroth chopped one of my fingers off.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, my counting has been off ever since. He better be overpowered. That's all I can say. He better destroy on release. They can release a patch and have a patch ready as backup, but release him broken, please. Let us have some great videos. Let us have the great fun so we can see it.
I'm actually looking forward to his interaction with Cloud. What I feel like is they gotta have special interaction with each other. Like when they're using their ult, there'll be a special cutscene or something like that.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Like,
you know, their relationship has been to a point that if I see my opponent pick Cloud, I would want to pick Sephiroth or the other side. That's how it feels.
Yeah, but no invitation. He just jumped right in.
Yeah.
Go ahead and rain down the godly meteor.
That's how good he is.
Yeah. Of course that's going to be his special. How can that not be a special? He just turns into the one-winged angel and then drops it. So, sorry, spoilers if you don't know the story of Final Fantasy VII.
Come on, it's trendy. It's trendy.
Sorry,
who doesn't know about it?
Yeah, it's only 20 years. Sorry.
You didn't hear anything. I'm thinking of like how they do in it won an award. I'm so stupid. Mortal Kombat. I'm thinking of in Mortal Kombat where whenever a game starts, the 2 characters have an interaction.
Yeah.
Like like it's all the new stuff, like the wacky stuff where it's like
they always toast each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the characters talk to each other and sort of like butt heads and say, "Hey, we're gonna fight now," and then they fight. I think that would be really cool to do in Smash. It's also not possible because it's not a strictly 2-player game. It's not strictly a heads up. It's like it's a party game. Like it's designed to be a party game.
But they can do it after the fight.
That would be good. Yeah. I would just love to see interactions, but like actual like animated interactions between the characters. Like in engine, this is what they're doing. Like.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a lot of fun to see because I would love to see Sephiroth interact with Ganondorf. Or
it's like Sephiroth just saying, "Surprise, it's me," and Cloud just say, "Hey, you again?"
Yeah. Just
you just keep following me. Dude.
We talked a little bit about this last week with Hades, but just the sort of the trash talk interactions between characters is always super fun.
Oh man. So I think it's unfortunately about that time, y'all. This is our last episode of the year. We want to thank you all for listening and thank you for your continued support. You can support us on Patreon. You could do us anywhere that you want to support us. Shout us out. Give us some recommendations. Tell your friends about us. Whatever you want to do. Thank you for supporting, and we will see you in the next year. Thank you for listening to the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment's official podcast. If you have any thoughts, questions, corrections, or general museum ideas, shoot us an email at info@themade.org. Yeah, again, thank you to everyone who donated recently and to our Patreon supporters who keep us going. Patreon donors get this 1 week in advance on major streaming services. Future episodes will be released every week. But we'll be back to you in January. We're taking a few weeks off.
It's the holiday season. We're going to relax.
Yeah. Take it a little off. Everybody's been working hard. There's finals a-flowing.
Catch up on new games to play.
Yes, all this time so we can talk to you more in the new year about more video games. So that's what we're going to do. we hope you guys have a great holiday. All of our listeners out there, thank you very much. And we'll see you next time. Till then, I'm Red.
I'm Miles.
I'm Chin.
And I'm Anthony. See ya.
Adios, everybody.
Merry Christmas.